Welcome back to Inside City Hall. In just a few months, my next two guests will be trading in their roles as members of the State Assembly and heading to Washington as the newest members of our city's congressional delegation. Congresswoman-elect Grace Meng currently represents Queens in the Assembly and will be representing the newly formed 6th Congressional District as the first Asian American woman ever elected to represent our state in the House of Representatives. And Congressman-elect Hakeem Jeffries has been representing Brooklyn in the Assembly since 2007. He will be taking over the seat being vacated by the retiring Congressman Adolphus Towns when he is sworn in to represent the newly drawn 8th Congressional District in January. Welcome to the program and congratulations to both of you.
Thank you, Errol.
And let's start with some storm business. I know your district, your newly drawn district, includes a lot of the places we've been hearing about, Coney Island and Manhattan Beach and all of that. How is the district doing? What are you up to?
Well, the neighborhoods of the 8th Congressional District, such as Coney Island and Canarsie, Manhattan Beach, Seagate, and Howard Beach, were all hit incredibly hard. They were knocked down to the ground. There's going to be a significant recovery effort that will have to proceed. It's going to take weeks, months, and in some cases years in order to get back up off the ground. I'm confident, though, that we will be able to recover. We're dealing with the humanitarian relief situation right now, making sure that people have food and water and medicine and shelter. There are some within the communities who don't even have power yet. So we're a long way from normalcy. We also are working as hard as we can to make sure that FEMA and private insurance companies provide the type of assistance necessary in order to help people rebuild.
You're in kind of an unusual position. The storm hit a week before the election that formally made you their representative, right?
Absolutely. Things changed on October 29th. We were on the ground the next day working as hard as we can, one, assessing the situation, dealing with the immediate humanitarian situation. Fortunately, I am a member of the Assembly and so was able to navigate my way through the different levels of government. FEMA has been very cooperative, particularly after I was formally elected on November 6th. We're working very closely with them, but we continue to try and coordinate services at all levels of government to get people the assistance that they need. We still need a lot of help, and it's going to be a long project, but I'm confident that we have the resilience, the ability, and the commitment to turn things around.
And Grace Meng, how did your district make out?
Well, most of the problems, which are still problems, are power outages and fallen trees. And I want to thank so many members of the National Guard and our veterans, especially today on Veterans Day, for really taking up so much time to help rebuild so many parts of Queens, like the Rockaways and Howard Beach. And I'm glad that Governor Cuomo has called for FEMA to fully reimburse our expenses here in New York. And I'm looking forward to work with Hakeem and so many members of our New York delegation to make sure that FEMA helps us rebuild better.
And tell us a little bit about what's going on this week. I know you guys are going down to Washington this week, and it's sort of orientation, like the first week of college or something like that. Well, what will you be doing?
Well, we'll have an opportunity to meet with the House administration to discuss sort of staffing up, the office situation, the process of getting committee assignments. We'll be able to meet new members of Congress who will be part of our freshman class. The great thing, and Grace is evidence of this, we will be part of the most diverse House Democratic Conference ever. For the first time in the history of the Republic, a majority of the Democratic members of Congress will either be women or people of color. And so it's a great moment to be part of a class that's so diverse, part of a conference that's so diverse. A lot of challenges that we have to deal with, and we'll begin to work toward that effort as early as tomorrow.
And so you get down there, you check in, what happens next?
Well, we'll be working with a lot of the staff there and the leadership there in terms of, like Hakeem said, picking offices, picking staff. There's also a component for Democratic spouses and significant others, which my husband is looking forward to. So that'll be something exciting. And contrary to what has been true in history, a lot of the spouses of Congress members will be male. So this year's election has been tremendous for females. I mean, 1 out of 3 Democratic Congress members elected are female. 40% of the country will be represented by a female United States Senator.
Very interesting. Has the politics begun at the level of, should you be supporting Nancy Pelosi to continue to lead your conference? Have the calls begun?
Well, the calls have certainly begun. I think we expect presently that Nancy Pelosi will run for re-election, and she'll be the leader, and Steny Hoyer will be the Democratic whip. Now, if that changes for some reason, then I think the politics and the palace intrigue will become even more intense. The most significant issue that I think we're paying attention to now is what tone does John Boehner set? How does he and his conference interpret the results on November 6th? I believe that it was a tremendous victory for Democrats and for progressives. The president won re-election. We increased seats in the Senate, kept a majority, and we've increased the number of Democrats that will be in Congress. In fact, more people in this country voted for Democratic congressional candidates in total than they did for Republicans. And a lot of us believe that the only reason the Republicans were able to maintain their majority in the face of such victory in other places for Democrats is because of the redistricting that took place in the aftermath of the Tea Party revolution in 2010.
Gerrymandering, once again, as we've often talked about. Although, yeah, it's interesting and worth emphasizing. This is only the fourth time, is my understanding, in the last 60 years where you had more people cast votes for a particular party, which was nevertheless in the minority in Congress. So you all are not in the majority, but more people voted for Democrats. We've got more to talk about what that means, as well as some lingering state business. You all are still state representatives for a few more weeks, and we got some stuff to talk about. We're going to do that in just a moment. Right now, though, we're going to take a break. And then later tonight, we're going to be talking with 4 political consultants involved in important races in the past election. Stay with us. Welcome back to Inside City Hall, where we are speaking with 2 of the big winners in the past election. They are heading to Congress: Grace Meng of Queens, Hakeem Jeffries of Brooklyn and Queens. And let me start with you, Grace. There's some outstanding business on what was a very happy day for the both of you, Election Day. Thousands and thousands of your constituents were absolutely miserable and frustrated waiting in these long lines. Surely you can do something about this.
We need more accountability at the Board of Elections. That's probably one of the most bipartisan issues stemming from this election. It's not a very efficient process, and whether it's changing the process where people look up the names in a book, where there's only one book per election district, maybe we can implement using iPhones or iPads. We need to be more technologically savvy. We need to get the lines moving. This is a good problem to have too many people standing in line to vote, but let's modernize the process.
Yeah, I mean, the signature technology one encounters at the drugstore, right, where you just sort of sign.
Right.
I mean, it's got to be cheap or free at this point, I would think. Do you support early voting? That's been suggested as one possible solution.
I would consider it, definitely.
And you?
I absolutely support early voting. I'm a co-sponsor of legislation that has been introduced in the Assembly. And I think we also have to put on the table, Errol, the notion that should the Board of Elections be run by partisan political appointees. I think we need competence, we need sophistication. We don't need those who have obtained their positions based on political allegiance or their capacity to support the Democratic county machine.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, New York is almost unique in that this is baked into the state constitution,
right,
which is no small feat to try and get changed.
Absolutely.
Is there something short of trying to change the Constitution that New York could do?
Well, perhaps we can sort of evaluate, the process of the appointments being made at the county level, put some sort of merit-based system in place, or a panel of experts that can evaluate and deem individuals qualified in the way that we do often with judicial appointments. We should also look at the constitutional dynamic as well. We recently did it with casino gambling. We've done it with redistricting reform. I think that the franchise and the ability of people to vote in a fair and efficient manner is such that it rises to the level of constitutional evaluation.
Generally speaking, should it be in the hands of an executive, whether it's the mayor or somebody else?
I think everyone needs to work together. There does need to be a more merit-based system. I think that is one of the main solutions.
Well, before you all go, there may be a final session in Albany, and one of the issues that might be on the agenda is a pay raise for legislators. Would you be in favor of that?
I'm still thinking about that.
Okay.
I do think that legislators do deserve a pay raise after 13, 14 years without it, but I'm not convinced now that it's the appropriate time with so many people suffering all across New York City, all across New York State in the aftermath of Superstorm Sandy. And so it's a legitimate question to evaluate, but I'm not convinced
I
that
mean,
it's the appropriate time.
should it be linked to a minimum wage hike or something like that, or just not at all?
No, I don't think it should be linked to a minimum wage hike. I think it should be evaluated on its own merits. Grace knows our colleagues work very hard. The overwhelming majority of them are very good public servants. It's just unfortunate timing in terms of whether we should consider it at this moment, given all that New Yorkers are suffering from.
And as a Brooklynite, you'll be voting on a county leader, I imagine, before you depart, or there will be a vote for a new county leader. Who will you be supporting?
Well, I think Frank Seddio has gotten the vote, and he's been elected to a term of 2 years. He's gotten off to a good start. He's working with progressives. He's working with a diverse group of folks. He's a good man, and I think that he's in a position to really do some significant things for the party moving forward.
And what will be your first? What will be at the top of your agenda when you after you're sworn into Congress?
I've been talking since the beginning of this campaign about the need for improving mass transit and infrastructure, and unfortunately, since the aftermath of Hurricane Sandy, the need to do that it has been highlighted. So that's definitely something that I want to focus on, especially for the people of Queens.
And your top agenda item?
Well, FEMA matters. We got to make sure that the federal government continues to be responsive to the immediate short-term humanitarian crisis that has been impacted, but we also have to look long-term at how do you protect these communities from an infrastructure standpoint, Coney Island, Canarsie, Howard Beach, from this type of occurrence again. These storms are no longer 100-year events. They're going to be occurring more frequently, unfortunately, because of environmental change. We've got to protect our coastal communities.
Okay, we're going to leave it right there for now. We wish you both the best of luck while you're doing your orientation. Make sure you find our Washington, D.C. Bureau. We'd love to stay in touch with you that way and other ways, and we look forward to talking with you again real soon.
Thanks, Errol.
All right, we're going to take a short break. Still to come, I'll be joined by 4 political spin doctors who will assess the government's response to the storm. We're back in a minute.